Okay, so far in your lectures, Dr. Raymond or Miss Un, what have you guys learned for this week's class? Okay, do you know what's the application of using JavaScript? Alright, so mostly JavaScript is used for creating an interactive user interface on websites. So for example, like you can see the animation of a drop-down menu or a pop-up login form. All those use some sort of JavaScript. But for today's lessons, we're gonna do focus mostly on CSS. Okay, so in class, you guys already learned CSS, right? How far have you learned so far? Okay, alright. So you know title style, sheets, comments, URL, color, and background. Alright. Since you already know those subjects, then today we're gonna learn on how to create a simple resume using HTML and CSS. Since you guys already learned JavaScript, later on you can add on your own JavaScript onto the document for more interaction in the pages. So we want to, no, we're not using WordPress, we're all doing hard code. Okay, so for this lesson, I didn't have time to create slides, so you have to follow along as I show you through the codes. I won't share the code now. At the end of the class, I will share the code so you guys can review. For now, let's do step by step. So I want to show you the product of how to create a code of a resume. So you want to create a resume with all these subtopics that you want to learn. Not to learn, but to display. So for example, like we have a nav bar on top, we have your picture, we have a about me, the qualifications, working experiences, achievements, your computer skills and referees. Okay, it looks very simple, yes, but the command in CSS, that is why you can determine the aesthetic of your resume. Okay, for like this example, when I hover around my picture, you can see that it became opaque. Where you can see like the opacity is low, not low but high. You can see that it's slightly transparent. And here in about me, you can see that we are inserting paragraph, and then we have some borders for the paragraph, and then we can have a text area where we have a summary of what we want to write about ourselves. Then qualifications. So qualifications is where you just put a very, for me, my method is to use a table, because using a table, especially in one strip of the page, is so much easier, so that you can control the content. Same as working experiences, you can see that for extra looks, I added when hover a lights up, so that the user, when you want to read a specific row, they can just hover. It's like a row reader. So achievement, very simple. You can hover when it is opaque if you want, but usually if you have a static image, you don't need to have any special effects, unless you want to have an action to perform for the image. So here is a very simple achievement line, and here is our computer skills, where we create a table, and then we have an even set a coloration between even rows. You can see that there's 4 rows, and there is 2 of them are in a lighter color and the other 2 in a darker color. So this is called an nth child method, where you can control which row either is even or odd to have a specific function or color. And then we have referees. So this is an example of a referee. Same thing I did with my working experience. I can highlight the rows. Okay, so today we're gonna learn on how to do all these methods. I'm gonna show you the code. So hopefully that everyone can open their text editors, and we can take step by step. All right. So what we do first is we have to create a folder. So try to create a folder that you can put in your HTML and your CSS file and other images that you want to put. For example, your own image. You see here, I put all of my document in one page, because when you want to, how to say, call up a image through your local device, you need to have a specific path, calling path. So since that if it's in the same folder, the calling path will be very straightforward. It's just the name of the file. But if you put the image somewhere else, let's say like you say in your download folder, you have to write the full path in the command line in the HTML, so that the image can pop up in your website. So it's better for this exercise, we put every image or you need on your folder. The image you can download online, doesn't matter. And we can continue with a very simple. So we are gonna start with our nav bar. Okay, can everybody see? Or is it too small? Okay. Is this better? Okay, so everyone, I want you to start doing the basic of a HTML document. Remember the doc type HTML, the HTML head, body, uh, open and close tag. All right. So first, you can look at the top line in the head tag. You can see that I have a link. Usually, when we want to create a style, the CSS part, we write in the head. That is the basic method. But since that you can see that the document that requires a lot of styling, it's better to have an external style sheet so that it does not cluster your entire code page, and it will be very complicated later on when you want to play around. So you create this a very simple one-line code. We put link, we put rel with its relation, which is called a style sheet, and then the reference is whatever your CSS document name is. For example, here is mystyle.css. So you create a new page called mystyle.css or whatever the name shall be, and then you just let it be empty first. Okay. Once that's done, we can go to the body. Okay. So do you guys remember when I taught, I think a couple of weeks ago, where the function of using a div? Do you know what's the function of a div? Yes, it's like a divider, more specifically like a container, right? So in your web page, if you want to create, you want to divide spaces for a specific block of information, so usually use div. So you want to create a space for one specific block of information, and then from that block it's easy to manage what you want to style, and then you continue step by step. Okay, so the resume I showed you just now, we can see that there are sections of each for each topic or subtopic, like about me, qualification, and your working experience. So we use each of that, we use div for each category. So we look here, we have a nav. navigation bar at the beginning. So at first, we always have to use the nav tag. So a navigation bar, you can see that you have so many styles. You can see an example of any website that is a sidebar, horizontal bar, top or bottom horizontal bar, a pop-up menu, navigation bar. But depending on how you want to design, you can design either horizontally or vertically. So we use horizontal, and here we can see that we create one div within the nav tag. We don't want to do it outside because the container of that navigation bar, we want to keep it within the range of the navigation tag, so that whatever we change within that container, the navigation will identify the any changes. Okay, so in our div for the navigation is container fluid, because we want to have a fluid movement within the container. And then we're going to create a list. So whole navigation bar is always formed through a list. So I hope you guys still remember what I taught, ordered and unordered list. So here we have UL is on unordered list, and then we give a class. Remember what's the function of a class? So this class of the list is a nav bar to identify that this list is a nav bar. And then another class is called breadcrumb. So what is a breadcrumb is that whenever you want to move one section to another section, you're always going to leave a mark, meaning that you have jumped to this particular section and so on. Like the name implies, breadcrumbs leaves a trail. Okay, so that is your nav bar. But that is just the one piece of it. Another, you have to create another div here, and that is called the header. So why is this another header here? If you want to put it, it's up to you. Let's look back at the the example. Here you can see that we have two sections. The one writing my resume, and then we have our um, categories, like when I'm hovering. So my resume, this section is one div, and then all these categories here are another div. So we have two div within one navigation div. So let's go back to the code. So we put a nav bar header. You can write, and then you can see that in H1 we put a. Remember the A tag is usually uh for writing a text, but it's not the same as H or P. It's mostly for a general text where you want to have a certain reference or on-click action. So for this for this A, we have a nav bar brand. So this nav bar brand is just your name of the file, or you put your entire name on it, all depending on you. It's just the brand of the navigation. You're just giving a brand, so to say. Okay, so once that's done, we go back to our main point of a navigation bar is the categories that is listed. So li tag is for the list, and then you can see that we have about 7 categories. Here you can see that in A we put the name home, for example, and then you can see class active. So the class active is just like I showed you, the home button is always highlighted. because that is the first thing you will see. I wasn't able to complete this code yet. When you want to jump to different pages, it will highlight the specific section of the page you're at. So for now, we will do like this: class active reference to hashtag home, and then you write the text home and you close the list, and you continue with the rest of the list as normal without the active class. And you wondering why is the hashtag used for? So the hashtag is just basically like a marker to identify each container. Then later on, I'll show you why is the hashtag home is used. We use it in the style sheet. Okay. Have you copied until the closing nav so far? Okay, I want you to write until the closing nav, and then we will continue with the next container. Everybody done? So everybody finished copying? Have you guys finished typing? Okay, so now let's look at the style sheet for the navigation bar. There's quite a number. Okay. Okay, so open your style sheet document on another tab, and let's create a the style of the nav bar. So first, remember the body. If you want to create a color, is it's up to you. You can put a background color as a default. Doesn't matter because if you want to follow like what I did, it's just basically each block will have its own color. So it doesn't matter if you want to have a background color, but make sure the body is relative and the margin is auto, so that whatever size the page will be, it will marginalize itself. Okay, so the body will be this tree. Okay. It's better if you write a comment like what I did here, so that it's easy for you to navigate throughout the entire document. So once you've done the body, you can create a section. So these section blocks are mostly for all the subtopic in the navbar. Now you see the reason why I use hashtag. So first in the hashtag home, you can see I put a padding on the top. This is just to adjust for the navigation, but home will be the image area. And you can see that the reason why I put padding top, there is some height, color, background color, and so on. That will be the image you see. You can put a section block, you can put on hold first. We could look back at the navigation bar. Okay, so remember the reason why we put nav is because we classified the nav bar as nav, the nav tag, and then we can see here li is the list and a. So as a, here li is the list and we have our a here. Here we put link. So as a link to the text, we have no text decoration. So what is a text decoration? Is usually you want to put underline, you will make it strong or italic, or you want colors. So this is the command code for that features. So it's text decoration. So we put none. And then in the next section is the nav list a visited. So visited is when you already visit to that page. We have no text decoration, but we have a color and then the background color, and then we have the color setting, which is white, referring to the text, letter of the text. Next is the hover. Like when you hover on top of the nav bar, we have, remember, no decoration. We do have a color, background color when you hover, and then the text will be white when we hover. Same goes as the active, no decoration, background color with a specific color, and the text color will be white. Okay, you can copy this for first, link onto active. Background color, you can put whatever color you want for the time being. Once you're done with that, we will move on to the next section. You can copy paste. The visited, hover, and active are the same. Just copy paste. I'll give you about maybe what, 5 minutes. Okay, so everybody finish? Okay, so move on. The next we have the command, which is nav list a active. So when it's active, we give a color, and then the text color is white. And next you see the unordered list. Okay, so this one we have list style type. List style type we have multiple, we have none, we have inside. This will determine on how the list is positioned. All right. I won't give the full detail. You can search online. For this specific, we give a none, and then margin we put zero, padding we put zero, overflow we put auto overflow. Okay, so the overflow function is when if the becomes smaller, does the nav bar narrowed? Does it break, or does it change to a mobile version? So for overflow, we just put auto for the time being, so that you can test out later when you minimize the screen size. You can see that the nav bar doesn't break. And now we give the background color for the list of the unordered list, and then the position is fixed. So fixed meaning that the it fixes on the length or that is needed just for the uh, list data, like all these subcategories. So top left is just the padding, no, sorry, the margin, and then the width we put 100% so that it follows the entire size of the screen. So next we have the list is a float. So for all the list is a float. So a float is specifies on how the element should float. So that what it means by floating is that is it float in the center or is it on the left? So here you can see that the text so that when you play with it, so left is it flows to the left of its container. So let's say if you want it to be in the center, you can. You want to make it to the right, you can. You can play around with it. So you can put left, center, or right. So for now, we just put on the left. And then you will see in the last one here in the list for A, we put as a display block. And then we put a, I hope you remember what is the function of a block. We did for the image last time. And the text color is white. The alignment of the text is center. We add some paddings. When you put like this 14px and 16px is the width and the length and height of it. So 14px length and 16px height. New text decoration. Alright. Okay, I'll copy this for. Then you save it. And then you can see. Then I want to see how it's on F bar. Everybody finish? Has everybody finished typing? All right. Okay, Carmen, show me your screen. I want to see how is the nav bar. Yes. Try to open the HTML account on Chrome and share the screen. Let's show first, then I can see what's going on.
Like only the background color. Other thing didn't appear.
Okay. Can I see your code?
This is for the HTML. This is for the CSS part.
Okay, Carmen, I can see the problem here. You don't have the closing tag for HTML head and body.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I know already. Okay.
Okay, for the time being, Nora Hidiati Miza. Boleh kongsikan screen. Nora Hidiati Miza dah share. Tengok macam tu.
Yeah, I don't know why, but the background color doesn't come out.
Okay, you can see a code.
Yeah.
Okay. Can see your CSS. Is your CSS file .html?
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So I just rename it, is it?
Yeah, the reason why it doesn't read everything else is because you're supposed to read it as a CSS file, but it's read as a HTML file. So you have to rename it to .css and make sure that the name of the CSS file is the same as in the link in the header tag. So just now I see that your header tag is mystyle.css. Make sure that it's the same name.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Anyone else wants to share the screen? Anybody facing any problems? Carmen, is your problem solved?
Not yet. I'm like trying to figure out the problem.
All right. Anybody facing problem with the nav bar? Okay, never mind. So we move on. If your nav bar is complete, we will move on to the um next div, which is the container. Okay, so the next one is called image container, which is the where you see just now the image that I put. It's very straightforward. You create a div. The ID is home, like the hashtag home, and the class is a container fluid. And in the A, you can see that I did not put any writing except for image. So within the A tag, you have an image, and then the image, you make sure that the image is saved in the same folder, like I mentioned before. And there you have to put the alternate text just in case the image does not pop up. And within in the A, remember that we want to create a function where when you click on the A, it is linked to another website. So here we want to create a Unimas link with the image we have. Okay, and remember the target is blank. So remember the function of a target. When we put target blank, it moves to another tab. Sorry about that. So here in image container, in the div with the ID home, like the hashtag home, the class is a container fluid. And then in the A tag, we have the image tag. Like we did before, the image tag, we have CRC, the source of the image you have, make sure that's in the same folder. The alternate tags for the, in case if the image does not pop up, we have a tags. But in the A, we have a reference, which is the Unimas website. And then we have a target blank so that when the home page, when it's moved to the Unimas page, it moves to a new tab. So what we have found, the function is this, that your image has become a link to the Unimas website. Okay, and let's do that. The CRC file, do not write DSC0177, that is my image. Just leave it blank for now. You can put your own image later. Just the rest you can follow. Everybody finish typing? Okay, once you're done with the image container, let's look at the CSS file. Okay, now this is where we write the hashtag home. So here, create a new comment, so call section blocks. You write hashtag home. You have the padding on the top, height, color, and background color. You write those 4 comments first. Okay, so hashtag home, padding top, height, color, and background color. Once that's done, we can go to here, the image section here. We put hashtag home. So, so if you want, like I said just now, if you want for a specific function for the specific block, we always put hashtag and then the comment here. So the first one you can see the home hashtag home, then image, we put the margin auto, block height, width, and border radius. The border radius I put 50%, so it makes the picture round. And the height and width is just the, like I said, the size of the image. Display block and margin auto, this is to help center the image. And then when you see the bottom one, image hover, this is the hover function. We put the opacity to 70%. So when you hover on the image, you can see that it became opaque. So that for whatever function, or not whatever function, but the function that you want for it is be linked to the Unimas website. Okay, since we have only about 40 minutes, I will just continue. Okay, hope that everyone can follow. So for now, I want to see, can anybody show me what you have done so far? Somebody show me your screen. Hani Sumaira, can you show me your screen? Okay. So the issue is the nav bar. All right, never mind. Thank you for sharing. Later on, you can refer to the code I'll give later on. All right, thank you for sharing. Beverly, can you show me what you've done so far? Okay, never mind. Rubin, can you show me your screen? Rubin?
I'm sorry, I just I think I skipped part of the tab on top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Later I
far,
will refer to your code
all right.
again.
Never mind, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Since I know that is quite, I know since that is quite a lot to do within the short time span. So we only given another what 25 minutes. Is that it? Yeah, about 25 minutes. I will just continue with the rest, and hopefully that you guys listen carefully on what I'm explaining, so that when you refer to my code later on, you know what how to adjust to your liking. All right. So okay. So once you're done with the div for the home, that is where we place the image of the uh, container for the image. Once that's done, we create another container for the about me. Okay, so about me is just a group of paragraphs and one area for the text area. So remember the same thing for this div. You've given an ID of about me, which is the same as the hashtag, and again we put a container fluid. So basically, on every section is just a div about me, what about me or whatever ID, and then we put a container fluid. You can copy paste that one, but the content inside of the container is different. So for here, we put a small header called about me. Here we put a paragraph, the name, address, your IC, mobile, and your email, for example. So for this, you can see that here is my name, address, IC, mobile number, email, whatsoever. And then you can see put P as for it, and you can see that only in the strong area you can see the strong tag, name, address, IC number, mobile, email. That's it. That is just to make it bold. And then after that we put a text area where we call self sum with your ID, and the name is called self summary. We put the rows and the columns of the size, and then you write whatever you want. And remember, look at my code on the P at the end and the closing P, we have a BR. BR means break line, so that this way that nothing looks cluttered, so that will give you extra space to write. And then when we look at about me in the CSS file, same thing, we put about me on top here. We put a padding on top. So remember, padding on top is just to space out. If you don't put padding on top, you can see everything move up and it doesn't look nice. You can play along with the padding. If you feel like 20 packs is not enough, you can adjust it. Then we give the height, the color, background color, everything else. You can see that on all of these section blocks here, all of them have the same command: padding top, height, color, and background color. The only thing you need to change is the background color if you want to, the color of the text if you want to, or the paddings and the height of the container. So for again, the height of the container is basically the size of the container that you want. So you can play around with that as well. For about 500 packs is a specific size. You can do 450 or 400 depending on the content you want to put in. So in about me, we have here, you can see that in the first, we want to adjust is the P. In the P, we put the text align justified. Same thing as you use in Microsoft Word, justify. You make sure that the writing is all on the left, but it's spaced nicely. The font size is the size of the text. You want 20 packs. So if you do not, it looks very moderate. P is very small. So you want to make it large enough to read. Max width, we put max content, the width of the paragraph to fit inside. The border style, we put ridge. There is other border style like dotted or dash. And then we put border color. And then we put margin and padding to auto so that it's centered nicely, and then word wrap to normal. So word wrap is basically when the screen is small or minimized, the words will break properly so that it does not go outside of the page, or you have to use a bottom scroll bar to move to the other side of the screen. Then here you can see that the strong tag, I'll make it color chocolate so that it highlights to a different color. And then in the text area, I want to add, to make it look nicer, we put word wrap to break the word. So that since text area is big and large, you have to break the word so that when you minimize the screen, the words will break, so that it doesn't feel like it's too clustered. And then the border style, we put rich for the same thing. You can put whatever style you want. Display block margin auto to center the text area. Background color, so for the background color for the text, for the text area. The font size, like I said before, the color of the text, and then the font family. You can use whatever font family you want. If you're happy with the default, it's up to you. Okay, since that about me is very general of just text, next we'll look at a qualification. Okay, qualification, yeah, this one's gonna be slightly more complicated. Okay, so let's look at the example I did. Here, you can see that in my qualification, it's written like this. You can see there's two header and the content below it. Here you can see it in my qualities, and I have my education qualifications. So my qualities is you can write whatever you want. In your education, you can write your degree, you can write your diploma or your STPM, and then your SPM if you want to, same thing you can put as well. But this is just an example. But how do you want to fit the content into this specific container? So for my method, it's simply just create a table, because a table is already helping you organize on how you want to display the information. Right, you already have the header, you already have the row. So in the row, we just put in the information so on, and the header is qualities and education. The adjustment of the columns I already taught you last time on using column width, but I haven't adjusted on this one yet. You can do it later on. And by doing the table method, it's easy for you to manage the content you want to put in. Okay, so in the beginning, same thing. We put div ID qualification class container fluid, and then we put a header to name the section, and then we put table. So use table to place qualities and education into two columns respectively. So this is easy to manage, like I said before. So this is the table. So in the first table row, we have TH, right? So table header, we put qualities and education. Then in the next one, you can see here, and next TR, we have your table data or your table cell, which is the information you put in. Since I put it in the list form, you can do the same thing. You put it in the list unordered or ordered, up to you. Once that is done, we go to the next data cell, which is for the education. So here I'll put an order list with small case Roman numbers. So here on order list, type I. So type I is referring to the Roman numbers, like not really I like the Roman 1, 2, and 3, like 1I, 2I, and 3I, so on like that. That is the type of unordered list we want. You can go and search, and there's so many different kinds of ordered lists you can use. You can use the Roman if you want to, okay, and so on. We have in the data list, we have listed as in data DT, Bachelor of Science, or whatever you want to put here. Okay, this is the beginning of a descriptive list. If you remember in previous class, I already showed you the slides on the difference of different lists, ordered and unordered and descriptive. So this is a descriptive list. In the descriptive list, you can see that there is multiple layers. The first is the title, then we have the secondary line, and then we have the final line, which is the list, your year study and your CGPA. And then you continue here. Once that is done, make sure that you have all the closing tags. Once all the closing tags is done, then you can move on. Then, like I say, when you're done with that, if you want to add another list, you can copy the first one and continue, right? And then you can copy from here to here and copy paste to continue. And then you make sure that all the closing tags are there, your TD, TR, table, and div. And then once that is done, you go back to your CSS. Your CSS file, make sure that you do your hashtag qualification for your padding and everything else, so that your container is coded if you want to, so that you can see which is what. And then in the qualification CSS part, we play around with the table. So the table we put, remember, margin is auto. We marginalize it according to the screen size. Width and height is up to you, how big you want it to be, and the font size, remember, is the size of the text. Okay, so now here in the qualifications, you can see that we are adjusting the unordered list to padding. Same as for the unordered list, we have the line height. And then for the header and the data cell, we have the column width. Here, there's some issues with the column width. Never mind, later on, I will adjust it, and when you see the code I give you, then you can see how it's adjusted. And then in the final one, bottom left, is just basically you want to colorize the header so that it looks neater. Neater or neat? Neat, yeah. So next is the working experience, the next div. So let's refer to the one again. All right, so in working experience here, same thing, I put a table so that it's easier to see. At the same time, the minor interaction of the hovering and color enables the user to follow the rows. Right, so this function, you can either do a table form or you can do a list form. I use a table because I want to utilize the width of the screen, so that when you want to continue adding whatever you want to add, you will just continue. If you want to do in list format, you can as well, no problem, but make sure that you utilize the space. All right, so once that's done, okay, you could remember here in the div for the working experience, you put continue fluid and you put working experience as the header, and then create table. Remember, start with the table. If you want to follow my method, you create a table, and then you put the header, company, position, description, and duration. And then continue like normal table information, you just put in there. Hopefully you guys remember how to do the table. You can refer, if you don't remember, you can go back to the slides that I did on the second week. And then let's look again. Remember, always write the hashtag at the section blocks. So in my working experience, you can see the table is margin auto, the width and the height is adjusted to my own satisfaction. If you want to adjust it to your own satisfaction, it's up to you. The text align is centered. The padding on the bottom is just to help me lift up the table slowly so that it looks nice more in terms of the margin of the table between the top and the bottom container. And then you see in the header I just put a color just to highlight the which row is the header. And then the last working experience is a TR hover. So in hover I put a color. So this is that the row changes color when hover. That's basically what I just did just now. Okay, working experience and the referees are basically the same. We can copy paste that part. Now let's look at achievement. So in achievement, same thing, we start the container fluid. But here I also create a table format to easily manage the content that I want to display. So the header, we just put the same thing, academic and curricular. And then my explanation, you can write your TD there and you can insert an image. But if you look at my example here, so here in my example, you can see that even though I put a table, you cannot see that it is a table. You can see that it just looks like a normal display. That's because I remove all the borders, and when you remove all the borders, this is how it displayed. You can see that all the borders are done, and then you can write your information, your academic or your curricular, and like I said, the image you can search online. You can, as when you download it, make sure that's in the same folder as your HTML and your CSS file. So where you want to, let's look at the CSS file. So achievement, there's nothing much you want to add. The only difference is the table. Again, we margin to auto. The height and the width is up to you, how you want to adjust. Text align is centered, and then the TH and TD, you want to control the size of the font, you can. At the same time, I always want to centerize the text and then the image. Remember, you want to center the image, you have to put margin auto and display block. And then you adjust the height and width with the size of the image you want. So this one is a computer skill. This is a very simple, straightforward computer table. This one you can, I did this quite last minute actually. But this one is just a very simple table where you can see that your table here, you can see the colors in the first and the third row, you can see is a different color. Second and the fourth row is a different color. Here is where we use the nth child command. This one does not have a hover function. If you want to, you can, but since it already has that different, each row have a different color, it's already redundant, so you don't need a hover text. Okay, same thing. We ID skills, and then the container fluid and style Overflow X auto. So what is an Overflow X auto? So overflow, like I said before, is the function where when the screen is minimalized, the content is you can see the content has a scroll bar at the bottom, right? So if let's say if your table is long and on a full screen it looks nice, but when it's a smaller screen you can see that it is not adjusted correctly. So the Overflow X The Overflow X is that when your screen is small, your table will also be small, but there's a scroll bar at the table for you to look at. So there's Overflow X and Overflow Y. When we're referring to the X and Y axis, so X is at the horizontal at the bottom part. After that, you just write the normal, as usual, your header, your table header, your table row, and your table data. And then here you can see in skills, just put table. You can put border collapse, your border spacing, the width, the margin, the layout, then your TD and TH. And then yeah, this is the part, the last one here. Scales TR. Then you see the two columns there, and NTH child even. So for the even child, this is the background color I want. You can change even to all if you want. But here we put even, so that each even row will have a specific color. So like I say, referee is exactly the same as your working experience. I just put a hover. Or you can put a different color as you want. Make sure that everything else is just the same. But you just change the ID. And if you want to change the colors, everything else will be set. Okay. Here you can see the referee tables, margin auto, width and height is adjusted. The font size is 16 px. The TR you can see is centered. I want the text to be centered. At the same time, the TR hover, the background color changes, and then the table header I'll give a color so that you can identify which is the header row and which is the cell row. When that is done, make sure you check back at the section blocks that every hashtag has been completed and every row is accounted for. So you can see the home, about me, everything else is the same as your navigation bar here. You can see your nav bar, you can see the hashtag about me, qualification, working experience, achievement skills, and referees. The reason why this is important as well is because when I click home, I'm back here. See the image here. When I click image, I'm go to the Unimas website. And then when I go about me, I'm here at the about me. Here you can see, and then the qualifications. You can see my working experience, achievements, skills, references, and so on. Okay, that's about it. Is there any question? Was I too fast? So no one has any questions regarding what I just explained just now? Okay, so if you have no further questions, then you are dismissed. If you have any other questions you want to ask, you can ask here. If you still feel like you don't understand anything, you can ask. Because next week we'll be teaching something else. And this exercise is good for practicing your CSS skill. And also at the same time, in future, if you want to apply for a company for a job, having a online portfolio like this really helps in the long run. If you are into web designing as well, this is a good start. Overall, it's just a good practice. Okay, so if you have nothing else to ask,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
Just now you said that we have class next week, right? But if I'm not mistaken, next week we have a holiday, the mid-semester break.
Okay, mid-semester break. Okay. I'll just you just wait for Miss Un or Dr. Raymond to say anything. If usually there is no class. But if let's say that since that everybody's at home, the issue might the probability of having a class might be different. But overall, you just have to wait for any statement from the lecturers. Okay. But usually, I don't think there is any class.
Sir, let's say if we do have any questions, is it okay to just contact you through WhatsApp?
Yes, you can, no problem. But I can't guarantee if I will reply on time or I can help you immediately. So if you have any like problems with your work, or with any exercise you're doing, I can help you, but I cannot guarantee with a fast response.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. What time is suitable to contact me? Anything before night. You can send me a text in the morning or afternoon, but if you text me in the night, I will probably reply to you next morning.